Hi, it's Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this gorgeous, luscious shawl with berry lettuce border. If English isn't your first language, you can click on this gear on the video and scroll through to find your preferred dialect. And this easy-to-follow step-by-step crochet tutorial is available in both right and left-handed, so please check the description box below to find the version that suits you best. This amazing, luscious shawl is made just with basic C2C for the center of it, and then it is finished off with a gorgeous edging on all sides, plus this fantastic berry lettuce border on the back. Isn't that fantastic? So you can use any yarn you have at all. You could also make it any size that you like. You just make your triangle, your corner to corner, the size you want your shawl to be, keeping in mind that the border adds about 6 inches. So for me, I made mine till it was about like over my shoulders, around my elbow, because I didn't want it to be too big. But just keep in mind, 6 inches will be added for the border. So you might want to stop mid-forearm if you want it full size, or elbow if you want it a little bit smaller. If you want to follow along with the written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and you don't have to worry about being able to read a pattern. All of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. For my size, I used 5 of these balls. This is 100 grams of magic spray, so I used 500 grams of magic spray. This is 185 meters per ball, per 100 grams. I'll put the imperial measurements there up on the screen. And I used 1.5 balls of Lorena worsted for my border, just to have that nice solid color. And then I finished it off again in the same yarn I used for my shawl. The magic spray is an acrylic yarn for the center. And this Lorena is 50% cotton, 50% acrylic. It would be great with 50% bamboo, 50% cotton. A natural fiber really helps give the border the drape it needs. You can do the entire shawl in one color like I did for this big one right here, or you could change and do a different color for part of the border. It's up to you. It's your shawl. You can decide how you want it to be. I used a 7mm crochet hook. You will also need 1 stitch marker if you are new to C2C. You'll need a pair of scissors and a needle for sewing in your ends. If you find this tutorial helpful, please subscribe to my channel for more. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back in to where you left off, and let's get started. To start your luscious shawl, we're going to be making it with C2C. If you haven't done a C2C before, I will link my masterclass up above. It is free here on YouTube. And you can also just follow along here. I will walk you through it step by step. And it is super easy to do. What you're going to want is a stitch marker if you are new to C2C. That will help you a lot. And just grab your yarn, make a slip knot any which way you normally do. Shrink that down and pop it onto your hook. And we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3. Pinch that chain. 4, 5, and 6. Wrap your yarn and into the 4th chain from your hook, or right where we're pinching. Just slide your hook into that bottom loop. So we have 2 strands on the top of our hook, and make 1 double crochet. And 1 double crochet into the next chain. 2 strands on the top of your hook. And 1 double crochet into the last chain, 2 strands on the top of your hook. So that is our very first C2C block. Go ahead, pop a stitch marker into this bottom space, our chain space right down here. Pop in a stitch marker. And chain 6 more. So 1, 2, 3, pinch, 4, 5, and 6. Wrap your yarn and into the spot where you are pinching it, or the 4th chain from your hook. Slide your hook in, 2 strands on your hook, and make 1 double crochet. Make 1 double crochet into the next chain, 2 strands on the top of your hook, and 1 double crochet into the last chain, which is right here. So pop your hook in, 2 strands on the top of your hook, and make your last double crochet. So now you have your 2 blocks. We are going to flip up our work. So the trick with C2C is we don't turn our work like normal. We flip up our work. So no turning, we are flipping. So flip your first block up, and we're going to slip stitch right into that space where our stitch marker is. So we just rotate that block towards each other, and we're going to slip stitch where the stitch marker is. So slip stitch to join, and we're going to build a block into the same space. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets into that same space. We can take that stitch marker out. 3 double crochets into the same space. 1, 2, and 3. So now we're ready to start another row. So we're going to do a new block to start a new row. So chain 6 again. 1, 2, 3, pinch, 4, 5, and 6. Now remember, if I'm going too fast or too slow, you can speed me up or slow me down just by hitting that gear on the video right there. So wrap your yarn and into the 4th chain from your hook, or that stitch where we were pinching. Slide in your hook to make a double crochet, 2 strands of that chain on the top of your hook. 1 double crochet. 1 double crochet into the next chain, 2 strands on the top of your hook. And 1 double crochet into the last chain, which is right there, right on top of that block. So pop your hook in and 1 double crochet. Oh, I forgot to tell you to pop a stitch marker back into that last block. Right there. Just hold down that block we just made, our new block, and we're going to flip up what we have finished, or we're going to flip up our work, and now we're going to rotate that block to join it into the staircase. You can see our little staircase is starting. So we're going to slide our hook in, or pop your hook in to where that stitch marker is, and slip stitch to join, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Pop your stitch marker out, and 3 double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you already know how to do a C2C triangle, just keep going, making your C2C triangle as big as you want your shawl to be. Now we're going to join this block into our staircase. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that stair to join. So pop your hook in and slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets into that same space. That's our top stair, or the last step of our work of the row. So now you can kind of see the little staircase starting. And this is the last stair we made, the top of the staircase. We can pop our stitch marker into that chain 3 space. And now we are ready to start a new block. Don't worry if this doesn't make sense yet. It will around row 5 or row 6. We're going to be doing the exact same thing every row from now on. So it'll click eventually, just keep following along. So we need to start a new block. So chain 6, 1, 2, 3, pinch, 4, 5, and 6. Wrap your yarn and 1 double crochet into the 4th chain, or that chain we're pinching. And 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 chains. We're always starting a new row this way, and our last chain is right there, right on top of our block. Just pop your hook in. You'll get those 2 strands on the top of your hook and make your last double crochet. Hold down that block we just made and flip up your work. And then we're going to rotate that block to join. We're going to rotate and slip stitch into that same space where our stitch marker is. So slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Pop out your stitch marker and 3 double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3. Now we have to join up our new block to the staircase. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that next stair. Slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And into that space, 3 double crochets. And if your top stair is getting in the way, you can just hold it down. Just pinch it with your work so you don't snag it with your hook. Here's 1, 2, and 3. Unfold that staircase and we're going to slip stitch to join. So slip stitch into the top space and chain 3. 3 double crochets into the space. So that finishes row 4. We have 4 stairs. We get a new stair for every row that we do, so we know we're on row 4. And we also know we are ready to start a new stair because our hook, our working yarn, is right in line with the edge of our triangle. That means we are ready to do our chain 6 block. So to start your next row, and this is the repeat for the rest of your shawl, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Wrap your yarn and make 1 double crochet into the 4th chain from your hook or that chain that we are pinching. 1 double crochet and 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, or 2 chains, I should say. And our last chain is right there, right on top of the block. You want 2 strands on the top of your hook. That's your last double crochet. And you can keep adding the stitch marker to your last block if you're not sure where to join. So just holding the block you just finished, just hold it down with your finger and flip up your work and rotate that block towards your finished triangle. We're going to slip stitch into that space to join. So slip stitch to join and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Pop the stitch marker out if you are using one, and 3 double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to join that block to our staircase, so just pop your hook in to the top of the next step and slip stitch to join and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Into that same space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Connect it. We need to join that to our staircase. So we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain or the top of that staircase to join. So slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Wrap your yarn and into that same space, 3 double crochets. and slip stitch to join that block. So slip stitch into the top of the next stair to join, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Wrap your yarn and 3 double crochets into that same space. Now our working yarn is in line with the outer edge of our triangle, so we know we are ready to start a new block. So we're going to do the exact same thing again. Every single row we're doing the exact same thing. So starting with a chain 6, 1, 2, 3, pinch, 4, 5, 6, wrapping your yarn and going into that 4th chain, or the chain we are pinching, 1 double crochet, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 chains. So we're just making the same starting block to start our new row. We're going to be joining right into this space, but if you need to mark it with a stitch marker, you are welcome to do so. Just right there. So hold down your block you just finished, your new block, and flip up your work, and then rotate that block towards the triangle. Rotate it and slip stitch into that same space with the stitch marker to join, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. You can pop that stitch marker out, and 3 double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3. Join it together, so we're going to slip stitch into the top of that next staircase to join. So slip stitching right here. Slip stitch to join. Chain 3. And 3 double crochets into the same space. 1, 2, and 3. Join it to the staircase. We're going to slip stitch into the top of the next stair to join, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Wrap your yarn and into that space, 3 double crochets. Connect it to your staircase. We need to join into that chain space at the top of the stair. Chain 3, and 3 double crochets into that same space. Connect it to your staircase, so we need to slip stitch into that space to connect it. And we need to chain 3 to start our last block, and 3 double crochets into the same space. Just like that. So now pause the video and keep working along, making your triangle the size you want your shawl to be. The border is going to add 5 inches on each side, so just keep going until your shawl is the size you almost want it to be. When your shawl is the size you want it to be, we're going to do something a little different before we finish off for the last 2 rows. So we're going to start our second to last row with a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, pinch, 4, and 5. And we're going to start our block into that chain that we are pinching, the 3rd chain from our hook. So we're just making smaller holes for this last row. It's going to help our shawl stay together at the shoulders. We don't need big spaces of all the weight on our shoulders. So doing a chain 5 block and chain 2 spaces, it will really help. So turn up your work, slip stitch to join. And for this whole row, we're going to be doing a chain 2 and 3 double crochets. So that first block is a chain 5 to start. And all the way along this row, we're going to be doing chain 2s. So just a smaller space at the top. So slip stitch to join, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So only the chain is different. Just like that. So pause the video and keep working along the entire top edge of your shawl, this whole row, doing a slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 double crochets into each space all the way along, and I'll meet you when we get to the end of your row. At the end of your row, we're going to do our last block into our last stair. So 1 slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 double crochets into that last space at the edge of our work. And that finishes the second to last row. To do the last row, chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to slip stitch into each of these stitches. So into the first, slip stitch, the second, slip stitch, the third stitch, slip stitch, and into the space, slip stitch. Rotate your work so we can work up our staircase. Chain 1 and make 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, and 1 double crochet. So that is our new block. It's like a little hill, but that's going to even out the top of our shawl. Slip stitch into the space to join. Chain 1, make 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, and 1 double crochet. There's our little hill. Slip stitch to join to the staircase. Chain 1, make 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, and 1 double crochet. And slip stitch to the next staircase to join. So you can pause the video and keep working along, doing your chain 1, 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, and 1 double crochet into those spaces all the way along, and then slip stitching to the staircase to join. So pause the video and keep working along, and I will meet you when you get to the end of your row. At the end of your row, we're going to slip stitch into that last stair, that last space. So slip stitch, chain 2, slip stitch again, and chain 2. We're just making a little corner space for the pointy corner of our shawl, or the edge of our shawl. Now into the same space, we're going to make 1 single crochet, chain 2, and now in between our blocks, that's where we're going to be doing our single crochets, in between these blocks. So in between the next pair of blocks, 1 single crochet, chaining 2, into the next space between the blocks, single crochet, chain 2, into the next space between the blocks, single crochet, chain 2, and now you can pause the video and keep working along the edge of your shawl, doing your single crochet and chaining 2 all the way along the edge or the side of your shawl, and I will meet you when you get to the point. right where we started, right down here. When you reach the corner of your shawl where we started, I've done my last single crochet into that space, so chaining 2, and I'm going to work right in. If you pull your tail, you'll see that opens up that stitch. I'm just going to pop my hook straight into that very first chain we made, and I'm going to make that into my new corner. So I'm going to do a single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into that same stitch. So that is going to be the new corner of our shawl. And now you can pause the video and keep working along this side of your shawl, doing your chaining 2 and single crocheting into the space all the way along this side. And I'll meet you when we get to the end of the row. At the end of the row, I've done my chain 2. I'm just going to go into this very first stitch we made, or that very first slip stitch right there, and I'm going to do my corner. And my corner is 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 1 single crochet into that same stitch. So there is our new corner. Now we're going to be working along the top edge of our shawl, so chain 2, and I'm going to make my single crochet into this slip stitch. Just pop your hook in, and make your single crochet, chaining 2, and we're going to be doing our single crochets into the valley. So see, there's these little hills, the little lumps. We're going to be doing our single crochet into the valley. The shortest stitch is where we're going to be putting our hook and making our single crochet. So just pop your hook in and 1 single crochet, chaining 2, skipping over to the next valley, into that short stitch, 1 single crochet, chaining 2. Don't worry if it's curling up. We need it to be a bit snug so that our shawl keeps its shape when we are using it. 1 single crochet into the valley, chaining 2, and 1 single crochet into the valley. So you can pause the video and keep working along the top edge of your shawl, and I'll meet you when we get over here. When you reach the end of your row, I've done my chain 2. I'm just going to go into that corner stitch and make 3 single crochets. That's going to be our new corner. Just rotate your work so we can work along the next side. Into the stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the space, 2 single crochets. Into the stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the space, 2 single crochets. You can pause the video and keep working along. 1 single crochet into the stitch, and 2 single crochets into each space, just like that, all the way along. And I will meet you when we get to our first corner, right down here. Into the corner space, 3 single crochets. Rotate your work a little bit so we can work along the new side. Into that stitch, right at the corner, 1 single crochet. And now you can just keep working along, 2 single crochets into the space, and 1 single crochet into the stitch, all the way along, and I'll meet you when we get to the top of the row. When you reach that top edge of your shawl, 1 single crochet into that stitch right before the corner, and then into our corner right here, into that space, just pop your hook in and make 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Rotate your work so we can work along this top edge of our shawl. And now we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to be doing half double crochets. So into the very first stitch, 1 half double crochet, and into the space, 2 half double crochets, just to give ourselves a bit of a nice detail around our neckline. So into the stitch, 1 half double crochet, and into the space, 2 half double crochets. Into the stitch, 1 half double, and into the space, 2 half double. 1 and 2. So you can pause the video and keep working along the top edge of your shawl, and I will meet you when you get way over here at the end of the row. When you reach along and you are at the end of your row, the corner of our shawl, we have our 3 single crochets into that corner space, or into that stitch. Into the first single crochet, we're going to do 1 half double crochet. Before you start this popcorn row, you might want to check that you have enough yarn to get all the way through without changing yarn, I suppose, if you have a color changing yarn like mine. So I joined a new yarn just for these popcorns on this side, because for me that's an easier spot to change colors and then have a nice transition of all the colors in my yarn along the edge of your shawl, just so you can kind of see all those color changes naturally happening in the yarn. But if you have a solid color yarn, it doesn't matter. You don't have to change yarn to make sure you have enough. But just keep that in mind if the colorway is something you'd like to highlight with these popcorn stitches. Into the next stitch right here, we're going to do 4 double crochets into a popcorn. So make 4 double crochets. Pull your hook up, take your hook out, and look for that very first double crochet you made into that stitch, which is this guy right there. So you can also just count back 4 stitches. Pop your hook in to that first double crochet, loop back on your hook, shrink it down and bring it through, and chain 2. 1 and 2. Now rotate your work so we can work along this bottom edge of our shawl. So we're skipping those 2 stitches right there. And into the third, we're going to do our 4 double crochet popcorn. So 4 double crochets. Pull your hook up and take your hook out. Look for that very first double crochet you made and pop that stitch back onto your hook. Loop of yarn on your hook, shrink it down, bring it through, and chain 2. So we're going to do that all the way along this bottom edge of our shawl. So skipping 2 and into the third, we're going to make 4 double crochets and then turn them into a popcorn. There's 1 and 2. 3 and 4. Make a bigger loop, take your hook out, put your hook into that first double crochet you made, loop back on your hook, shrink it down, bring it through, and chain 2. So you can pause the video and keep working along, skipping 2 and making a 4 double crochet popcorn into that third stitch. and chaining 2 all the way along this bottom edge of your shawl. And I will meet you when we get all the way over here to the tip, that very bottom point of our shawl. I'll meet you right over there. When you get closer to the tip of your shawl, we are going to make 3 popcorns with our chain 2s into the 3 single crochets at the tip of your shawl. So I've done my chain 2. I'm going to skip those 2 stitches and work into the 3rd and make a popcorn. So basically, we're just making 3 popcorns in a row at the tip of our shawl. So I'm doing my 4 double crochets into that first single crochet into that corner tip of our shawl. Pull your hook out and just turn that into a popcorn. Chain 2, and we're going to do that into the next stitch as well. So 4 double crochets into the next stitch. So there's 4. I'm going to turn that into a popcorn. Chaining 2, rotate your work, and then into that last single crochet in the corner space, another popcorn. So 4 double crochets into that stitch and turn that one into a popcorn. So at the tip of your shawl, you're just doing 3 popcorns into those 3 corner stitches, just like that. So now pause the video and keep working along this side, doing your chain 2, skip 2, and 4 double crochet popcorns into the 3rd, all the way along, and I will meet you when we get right back up here. Now, when you reach the tip of your shawl or the end of your shawl, we're not putting any popcorns along the edge where we did our half doubles. That's our neckline. So we're not putting any popcorns here. We're just going to finish and then work our way back and forth in rows going down to build our border. So we're still going to do our skip 2, and we're going to go in to that stitch, that center single crochet right there to make our last popcorn. So the center stitch, or the stitch right at the tip edge of your shawl, 4 double crochet popcorn. And to finish off that popcorn, instead of doing a chain 2, we're just going to do a chain 1. So that finishes the popcorn round. And now we're going to go right into the center of that popcorn. So we're going to go right up in the middle of it. We want a single crochet right in the middle of that popcorn. So 1 single crochet and chain 2. Now into the space, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and into the space, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and into the space, 1 single crochet, and chain 2. So that is the repeat for this round. We're just doing our single crochet and chain 2 all the way along. We're just building a nice little area for our next row of the border. So this is going to look like that. So now you can pause the video and keep working around or working along this edge, and I'll meet you when we get down to the bottom point of our corner, right down there. When you get down to our popcorns at that bottom tip or the bottom edge of our shawl, the bottom corner, we're just doing the same thing, so nothing special. We're just doing our single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2. We're not adding anything. We're just continuing with that single crochet and chain 2 all the way around the edge of our shawl, and that gives us our next corner spot right down there. So just keep going, doing the same thing all the way around, and now I'll meet you when we get all the way up here. When you reach that end of your shawl, just find that space after your popcorn. You can just flip your work over and wiggle your fingers to see where that popcorn is. We're going to make our last single crochet into the space after the popcorn. So right over there, 1 single crochet to finish. Just like that. So now you have some choices for your border. For this border, I used the same yarn for the whole shawl. So this is ambient from Icy Yarns. I used the yarn for everything. I didn't change yarn at all. For my new one, the one we're doing today, I'm going to change yarn for these loops, all of these loops. So from this pinky kind of color here, all the way down to this beigey color, this row at the end, I'm going to do in the same yarn as the shawl, the blue yarn that I'm using. But for these rows here, I'm going to use a solid color. So from my shawl, but you, of course, are welcome to just keep using the same yarn. You don't have to change like I am. It depends on the look you are going for. So if you are going to change yarns to do a solid color, for my single crochet, I'm going to bring my yarn back and I'm going to leave those loops on my hook, cut my yarn, and bring in my new yarn. So long enough loop to sew in with a needle later. I'm just going to finish that single crochet with my new yarn and then drop both of my tails. And now I'm ready to start the next row of our shawl. So to start the new row, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and turn your work. So there's our chain 2 spaces. We're going to make our single crochet into the second space right here. So 1 single crochet, chain 5, make 1 single crochet into the space, chain 5, and 1 single crochet into the space. So we're going to be doing this all the way around, doing our chain 5 and our single crochet into the space. So we're just starting our loops, just like that. So you can pause the video and keep working along, a chain 5 and a single crochet into each of these spaces that we made all the way along. And I will meet you when we get to the tip of our shawl, right there. Now at the tip of your shawl, our center popcorn into that space right above. We're going to do 1 single crochet, chain 5, and 1 single crochet into the same space. So that space gets its own loop. And now just keep going around this side of your shawl, or this edge, with the same thing, chain 5, and a single crochet into the next space, all the way along, and I'll meet you when you get to the end of the row, right up here. When you reach our last popcorn, right over there towards it, we're going to make a single crochet into the space before the popcorn. So 1 single crochet, chain 2, and we're going to make 1 double crochet after it. So just into that space, 1 double crochet, just to finish off the edge of our shawl. To start the next row, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and turn your work. Now into this next space right here, so not right where our chain is and our double crochet, not here. Into the next loop right there, we're going to make 1 single crochet, chain 5, and into the next loop, 1 single crochet. So exactly the same as the last round, except we're going into the loops we just made. So chaining 5 and single crocheting into the loop. Chaining 5 and single crocheting into the loop. You can pause the video and keep working along, making our next row of chain 5 loops, and just always kind of check back a little bit, your last few loops, to make sure that you haven't skipped any, because they are kind of floppy little things. It's easy enough to just grab one ahead and not the next one right there. So just be mindful that you're working in to each loop with a single crochet and a chain 5 all the way along. And I will meet you when we get to the tip of our shawl right down here. Now when you reach the tip of your shawl, this center loop right there, we are going to chain 5 to get to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Single crochet into that center loop. Chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And single crochet again into the same loop. So the center point of our shawl gets an extra loop. Just like that. Now you can just keep doing your chain 5s and your single crochet into the next loop all the way along this side. And I'll meet you when you get all the way up here. At the end of your row, I've done my chain 5 and we have our 1 loop left. I'm going to make 1 single crochet into that last loop, chain 2, and I'm going to make 1 double crochet into the same loop. Just like that. To start the next row, chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and turn your work. Into this same little loop, the same spot, we're going to make 1 single crochet. And chain 11 again. 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11. And again, into that same space, right there, we're going to make 1 single crochet. We're kind of making fingers for this row. So there's 2 fingers to start. And now we're going to do a short hill. So chain 2, 1 single crochet into the next loop. Chain 2, 1 single crochet into the same loop, and chain 2. Now into the next loop, we're going to do our fingers. So that is 4 big loops. So 1 single crochet, chain 11, 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11. And into the very same loop, 1 single crochet, and chain 11 again. 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11, and 1 single crochet. Remember, you can pause the video or slow me down and speed me up if I'm going too slow or too fast. Chain 11 again. 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11, and 1 single crochet into the space. So there's 3 loops. We need to do it 1 more time. So chain 11, 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11. And into the very same space, 1 single crochet. And then just check that you have 4. Oops, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just remember it's 4 fingers. 4 fingers every other space, every other shell. So now we're doing our little small hill here. So that is a chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and chain 2. Just a small little blip, just like that. So into our next space, right here, we're going to make our fingers. So that is 4 fingers. So single crochet, chain 11, single crochet 4 times. So chain 11, single crochet into the space, chain 11 again, 10, and 11. Single crochet into the space. Chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11. And single crochet into the space again. And then just check, that's 3, so we need 4 fingers. We have to do it one more time. So chain 11, 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11, and one more single crochet into that same space. So now you can pause the video and keep working along, alternating doing a small little hill like this, or a small loop, and then your 4 fingers into the next space. And we're going to be alternating that all the way along. Each of these loops is either getting a small hill or 4 fingers. Just remember that you need 4 fingers. Also remember your small hill. So in between your fingers, there'll be a little flat spot. Every once in a while, go back and check that it looks like this. So just in case you have forgotten and put fingers close together instead of putting in that small hill, that can kind of be an easy thing to do. So pause the video, keep working all the way along, and I'll meet you when you get closer to the bottom tip of our shawl. When you reach the center tip of your shawl, this space here is the middle of our shawl. So I've done fingers before. Now yours could work out differently. You could end up putting fingers in the bottom space. You could end up putting a small loop at the bottom space. It doesn't matter. However yours works out, it will depend on the size of your wrap, of your shawl, and it doesn't matter a bit. So for me, my center space is going to be a small hill. So I'm just going to do a small hill. So just my regular chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and chain 2. Pause the video, keep working along this side, and I will meet you when you get up to where, well, up to this side right there. At the end of the row into this last loop, right there, this one, we're going to do 2 fingers. So I've done my chain 2 small hill. And into this last loop, we're going to do 2 of those fingers. So single crochet, chain 11, single crochet, chain 11, and single crochet. Just like that. So 2 loops into that last space. And now just take some time and go back along your shawl, just making sure you have your 4 fingers and your short little hill, your chain 2 hill, all the way along, so that when we're going back along the next row, we don't have to come back if you've done 5 fingers or you've forgotten to do a short hill in between. Just check that you have 4 and a hill. To start the next row, chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and turn your work. Now for this row, we're going to be working into our fingers and turning our fingers into little flowers. Like that, so we're just going to be working into these loops all the way along. So into our first loop, right here, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, into the next loop, 1 single crochet, like that, and now grab the next loop, or the next finger of the next flower, and we're going to go and make 1 single crochet straight into the first loop of the next flower, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next finger, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next finger, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet into the next finger. So there is our flower. So grab the first finger of the next flower, no chaining between these, and make 1 single crochet. And now we're going to chain 3 in between each of these fingers of the next flower. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next finger, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next finger, and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next finger. So we're just connecting our fingers into these cute flowers. And in between our fingers, we're not doing any chaining. We're only chaining between the fingers of each flower. So between hands, no chaining. So from one set of fingers to the next, we're just going to go single crochet into the last one and single crochet into the new one. And then chaining 3 in between our fingers. And single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet. So that's all we're doing for this round, or for this row. So you can pause the video and keep working along, chaining 3 between our fingers and jumping straight over to the next hand or the next set of fingers. So pause the video, keep working around all the way until you get to the very end of our shawl, right over here. At the end of your row, we're just going to do the same thing, so treating these last 2 fingers as a flower. So I'm going to jump straight over, do my single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet into the last finger, chaining 2, and now we're going to do a triple treble, or we're going to wrap our yarn 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm just holding those loops on my hook with my finger. And now into this first chain we made, right at the bottom, right down there, I'm going to pop my hook in to that first chain. I'm going to try to get 2 strands on the top of my hook. And now we're just going to bring the yarn back, wrap and take off 2, wrap and take off 2, all the way until all those loops are gone. So wrap and take off 2, wrap and take off 2, wrap and take off 2, and that gets us right back up to the top of our flower. We have 1 more row to do, going back, working around this chain here. You can decide if you're going to do it in the same yarn as all these loops, or you can go back to the yarn you used for your shawl. The choice is yours. Now for the last row of our border, you can decide if you're going to finish in the same yarn as you've been doing for your border, these loops here, or if you would like to go back to the same yarn you used for your shawl. If you are using the same yarn for your loops as you're going to finish off with, it would still look gorgeous. Just chain 1 and turn your work, and you'd make 2 single crochets into this space. If you're going to change yarns back to your original yarn, we're just going to finish that last stitch with our new yarn. So there's the last 2 loops of that super tall stitch we made. You can cut your old yarn and bring a loop of your new yarn. We're just going to finish that stitch with our new yarn. And now drop your tails. You can just hold them along the back of your work. Chain 1 and turn your work. 2 single crochets into this space. 1 and 2. Now into that stitch right here, we're going to go in and make 1 single crochet and a picot. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to insert our hook underneath these 2 loops right there to make our picot. So just slide your hook in those 2 loops on the top of your hook and slip stitch to make your picot. Now into the chain space, 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now when you get to these 2 loops where we didn't chain between those 2 fingers touching, we're just going to jump straight over them into the next space and make 3 single crochets into the space after. So 1, 2, and 3. So that is going to be our valley. Into the stitch right there, 1 single crochet and a picot. So chain 3 and slide your hook under those 2 loops at the front. Slip stitch to form your picot. Now into the chain space, 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Into the stitch, 1 single crochet and a picot. So chain 3 and slide your hook under those 2 loops closest to you and slip stitch. Now here we are where those 2 loops connect, joining our flower to flower. So 3 single crochets into each of these spaces. So 3 single crochets before the next flower and 3 single crochets into the space of the next flower. Into the stitch, 1 single crochet and a picot. 1, 2, 3, so that's a chain 3, and slip your hook underneath those 2 loops closest to you. Slip stitch to form your picot, and 3 single crochets into the next space. 1, 2, and 3. Into the stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 3 for your picot, and now we are at the valley again. So 3 single crochets before the next flower and 3 single crochets into the space of the next flower. So there's my first 3 single crochets. I'm jumping over into this next space and making 3 single crochets. Now don't worry if your loops or your single crochet is not into the center of those chains. Just crochet your way along just as you crochet naturally, and you can always go back later and slide those chains through till they're in the center of that single crochet. So that's something you can do after. Don't worry about doing it exact as you're crocheting. It's easy enough to just go back and slide them into the right position. And if you're working along and you have a different number of fingers, maybe there's only 3, just do your best. Nobody's going to notice. This is a super waffly, ripply border, so don't think you have to go back and frog and do it exactly right. Nobody is going to see. If you only have 1 picot or if you have 3 picots, nobody's going to tell. So don't stress out about it. So you can pause the video and keep working along, doing a single crochet and a picot into the stitch. When you get to those 2 fingers that are touching, we're just skipping straight over. That's our new valley. And keep going all the way along until you reach the other end of your shawl, right over here. At the end of the row, we're going to do the same thing. So jumping over those 2 fingers that are touching and 3 single crochets into the space after. into the stitch, 1 single crochet and a picot. And into the space after, this last space right there, 2 single crochets and a chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. Now you can go back along your shawl and just rotate or pull these loops until the single crochet is in the center. Any of them are off center. Like this, I'll just pull it through a little bit. Maybe 1 chain through so it's evened out. So you can just do that all the way along the shawl. Sew in your tails and you're finished. Now if you want to add a little button like this, then just try on your shawl. Make sure the bottom edge is lined up. Not perfectly, just like approximately, and then feel where you would like to keep it closed at the top. And keep in mind that crochet will stretch, so put it a little bit higher than you would like it to be in the future, and pop in a stitch marker. So line up those bottom popcorns, that popcorn row, and then just put your fingers in those spaces all the way up, just to line up your shawl. You could count if you want to, but I just trust my fingers more than a number on both sides. So just line it up, because we're going to feel where our buttonhole is going to be, and we want our, there we go, we want our button to be where our buttonhole is. So that is our buttonhole on the one side. So we want to put our button, I guess, right there. A good spot for it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video right there, and stay hooked.